Hello everyone, it's time for another deck profile, this time on the updated BT07 standard Bavsargra deck, or the overdress format for Bavsargra. So this deck has been getting some support here and there, just one or two cards, nothing super special, nothing super crazy relevant since set 4, but some few helpful cards, change up lineups a bit, and overall it still pretty much functions very similar with just some new extra cards. And like usual, Bavsargra still faces few problems and it's mainly on the resources. But overall, I do have fun with the deck. I like Bavsargra's playstyle, I like the Dragon Maiden aesthetic of Bavsargra, hence why I built the deck. I like this playstyle of it, focusing on weapons, and lore-wise, she projects weapons. So that's actually one of the reasons why I built the deck. I like the playstyle, Dragon Waifu as well. And the Seal Blaze really reminds me of Bluish Flames. And another reason why I built the deck. It's just overall, I like the style and I like the concept and design of the deck. Like I said just earlier, still the problem of resources, because this deck uses Soul and Counterblast quite a bit, and yes, there is ways to re-get them, but overall it's not fast enough compared to re-getting them, because you're using it faster than you actually re-get it. But other than that, let's just get on with the deck with all the changes that I got. So of course we start off with the ride line. Here's your starter. You have to run this starter for this deck, Seal Blaze Dragon Arhisa, because the grade 1 requires it. Where Seal Blaze Dragon Narmancar, where when you ride it on top of the Arhisa, you can Soul Blast 1 to search your deck for Seal Blaze Sword Brihifi or Swayamba from your deck to your hand. That's basically aka the sword or the shield, and you can actually see on the playmat, actually there's the shield, the sword is actually on the top. Yeah, basically aka search the sword and the shield. There's 4 different weapons, so there's also the spear and the gun. Those are the 4 weapons so far, and so far no new weapons. So basically just look at it that way. Most of the time, you're basically going to search for the shield, because shield is defense, obviously. And then it has a second skill where when this card attacks, it gets plus 2k power to the end of that battle. This will happen sometimes because Bavsargra can actually call grade 1s from your drop zone. And because Bavsargra also Soul Blasts, this can sometimes be a target. And sometimes you just have no choice but to call it. So that does come up sometimes, but you're not going to really do it for that. Next, Seal Blaze Dragon Halibadra. So Halibadra, when placed on Vanguard, by riding on top of the Narmancar, you can put 1 arms card from your drop zone and put it back to your hand. So basically Narmancar searches, you discard for your ride deck, and this card just brings back that card back to your hand, which is, at this point, I'm just finding all that stuff kind of a little weird and pointless to do. But anyway, second skill, pointless, you're not going to do it for that. So I'm not going to go over it. But now to the grade 3 itself, Seal Blaze Maiden Bavsargra. So, when this card gets armed, you can soul charge 1 and then choose 1 grade 1 or less from your drop zone and call it to rearguard. Hence the resource gain right there, and what I'm talking about, the grade 1 with Narmancar. That's why I say that part can be relevant sometimes. But being able to get a free soul charge and +1 really helps out every single turn. The unfortunate thing is that it's the second skill that uses the soul much faster and plus the arms as well. Because the second skill is that at Vanguard once per turn, if this card is armed with 2 or more cards, I'm gonna say this, so far there is no way to arm this with more than 2 cards, but for future proof and reference, it makes sense. You can Soul Blast 2, retire your opponent's front row rear guards, and then this card gets crit +1 until the end of turn. So crit pressure plus a nuke on the front row. Not bad. And also you get a +1 out of it with a soul charge, which does basically make it into a Soul Blast 1 in some cases, but overall this is just not too bad. The 2 arms in the first grade 3 turn isn't hard either, thanks to a lot of support cards, so there is that as well. Overall, pretty good pressure card, and the arms card is going to determine its more power. And now to the main deck, you obviously have to run 3 more for Persona Ride, because Persona Ride. Now I'm going to keep this card in the middle because we're going to go to the arms card next. So first off, we're going to start off with the right-handed arms based on the introduction order. I'm going to start off with the 2 copies of Seal Blaze Sword Brihifi. So you put it on the right side of Bavsargra. You can tell based on which side of Bavsargra because artwork. It's basically like Legion. So you play it by Soul Blasting 1. Here's another Soul Blast. And this is what I mean. You're going to be using quite a bit of resources more than you re-get them. So you Soul Blast 1 to play this. There is ways to nullify it, by the way. And the skill of the sword of Prehefi is that when your Vanguard attacks, it gets plus 10k power to the end of the battle. And then at the end of the battle, you can play the skill. Counterblast 2, put it to drop zone, and then choose one of your opponent's Vanguard and deal 1 damage to it. The Counterblast 2 is heavy, and this is why Bavsargra has a resource problem with the Counterblast as well. It's because of arms like this that require 2 Counterblasts. But overall, it isn't too bad a card. You will use this quite a bit, usually to finish games. That's why I run 2. And then next, for the other right-handed arm, we're going to play Seal Blaze Spear Arhisa. This is actually going to be the most important arm of the deck. There is the new Dokuvan reveal that you might be able to cut this down because now you got a searchable card. But anyway, you play it by counterblasting 1 and you arm it on the right side of Bavsargra. So when you arm it, you draw a card and you can play 1 additional order this turn. Yeah, that actually lets you play 2 arms card in 1 turn, and which is very helpful right there. And that obviously triggers Bavsargra nuke skill on the first grade 3 turn. That's why you play 4, because you want to play that as soon as you can. And the second skill is during your turn, if your arm unit attack plus 10k, which is basically the same thing as the sword, but the sword is more of a finisher. But of course, you do want to play this as well. But of course, you do want to see this as soon as you can. So obviously you run 4, so you could draw as soon as you can. And now to the left arms. So here's the most used one. Seal Blaze Shield Swayamba. Why you only play 1? It's because Narman card literally just searches it. Because you play it by arming it to Bavsargra on the left side by counterblasting 1. Once again, more counterblast usage. And once per turn, when your arm unit is attacked, shield plus 10k. Yep, free 10k shield once per turn. That's why you always search this. If you already have it in your hand, obviously search the sword. But either way, you have to run it. And into the other left-handed arm, which many people don't play, but I like to have the option still, is Seal Blaze Gun Chandra. You put it on the left-handed side. Funny that both left-handed arms are the only one-ofs, basically. And this one you have to pay by Soul Blasting 1. This is obviously the other offensive arm card because the skill is when your arm unit attacks, you can counterblast 2, drive plus 1 until the end of the battle, end of battle, put this to drop zone. Once again, counterblast 2, which is very heavy. Now, it's probably not worth it compared to the sword, but if you want to go full offensive mode with both the sword and the gun, there you go. That's why I still run the gun, because sometimes I do like to go full offensive mode, and that has come up a few times. So that's why I still like to have the option. You're not going to do it too often, probably like once in a while, but I just still like having the option. And now that's it for the Bavsargra with the arms lineup. That is also my grade 3 lineup. So to the grade 2 lineup, I run the Seal Blaze Dragon Ayesha. So Ayesha, when placed on rearguard, you perform all your following abilities based on your arms card on your Vanguard. If you have right-handed arm, this card gets plus 10k. It will happen. If you have a left-handed arm, which will also happen, because it's Swayamba usually, you can counterblast 1, choose 1 grade 1 or less card from your drop zone and call it to rearguard. So basically just more pluses, and yes, more counterblast, there is that, but it just increases the amount of Trick Moon boosters, which will be very big ass pressure attacks, because spoiler alert, Trick Moon is going to be the main booster for the deck. Now, I run 4. I originally ran 2 to 3 because I was running this one card called Seal Blaze Dragon Ardila. But there was a new grade 1 that kind of replaces Ardila. Ardila lets you arm 1 additional card if your Vanguard has an arm card, but it costs 1 counterblast. And I don't have a problem with this card overall. I was running this for a while until the new grade 1, but the new grade 1 kind of literally replaces it because 1, it's a grade 1, so you could just recall it. The second thing about that grade 1 is that you practically arm it for free compared to this one that needs a counterblast. And yes, this card can also be an 18k beater, while this one can be a 20k beater. And this one still calls something. I was doing a 2-2 split for a bit too, because I do find this card be useful sometimes for more arms option, but the new grade 1 literally kind of just replaces this overall. I have not really found too much use of this as of recent, so 4 of these it is, and it's just more chances for more boosting. But overall, it is a pretty good card. Next, for a new grade 2 that was at set 6 is Seal Blaze Dragon Shamda. During your turn, you have 2 or more arms card plus 5k. Same thing with most of them. And then on drop zone, when your rear guard is placed from drop zone from your Vanguard's ability, aka Bavsargra, you can counterblast 1 to call this to rear guard. Once again, counterblast to call it. You will do this sometimes. It's another discard target, so there is that. You're just not going to do it too often because of counterblast reasons. But it is there, and it is a nice beater sometimes. And then finally, The 2 Twin Bullet of Duststorm Travis, where on act, once per turn, if your opponent's rearguard was retired this turn, you can counterblast 1, soul charge 1, choose one of your opponent's rearguards, and retire it. And plus 10k power until end turn. Yes, more counterblast, but this one gives you a soul charge, which is very nice right there, and additional retire. And Bavsargra only nukes front row, so if you want to kill stuff in the back row, here's your card. So that's why I decided to run this. It's just more options for retire. You don't have to run it. You're not going to use it too often. In fact, I'm thinking about replacing 2 of these for Ardila because Ardila literally arms you another card and that is more important than giving you another retire. But so far, I haven't had the problem with the 2 arms on the first grade 3 turn. So Travis it is. Now for the grade 1 lineup. Here's the new grade 1 that actually does a lot, which is Steel Blaze Dragon Samhadi. So Sahamni, if you have 2 or more arms card, this card gives us 5k, so 13k beater, that's fine. But the second skill is where it's important, where if your Vanguard has an arm, you can retire this unit, choose 1 arm card from your hand or drop zone and arm it to your Vanguard. And then your Vanguard is armed, you cannot arm your Vanguard for the rest of the turn. Yes, that is a bit of a restriction, but not really. You're not going to really arm your Vanguard more than twice a turn, so that's fine. The thing about this card is that it doesn't cost you counterblast or soul blasting to arm a card. It nullifies the cost, which is why it's really good. It's also a grade 1, 13k beater that can be recalled by Bavsargra. And because it retires itself to arm you a card, you can Bavsargra skill and call this again. You can even use the grade 2 to recall this to arm more stuff. That's why this card is just good. It's also because grade 1 synergy with it. That's why the grade 3 Ardila kind of became unnecessary because of this card. And so far, I've been really liking this card and it's been really helping out a lot. And then for the last of the grade 1 lineup, 4 PGs, one of them being the Blitz Order. And then for grade 0, here's her partner in crime, Trick Moon. So when placed in the back row center rear guard from drop zone, you can countercharge 1. Key point, back row center rear guard. The only way of countercharging in the deck. And considering how much counterblast you saw based on all the cards, you can tell that you're not going to be able to refund all the counterblast fast enough. This only countercharges 1. But the second skill where it's stress boost auto, when this unit boosts, the boost unit gets plus 10k power for each of your arms card on your Bavsargra. So 2 arms card means 20k boost, and on Bavsargra itself usually that it will be the case. And the hitting numbers will be 48 or Persona Ride turns 58 because right-handed arms give you plus extra 10k. Yeah, that's very nasty with Bavsargra, and that's going to be a lot of pressure right there, a lot of power pressure. On your rear guards, maybe a 10k boost because usually you will still have a shield, but this is your main booster of the deck. It's because of the dress boost skill. No reason not to run 4, and it's very important that you see this as soon as you can. So that's it for the non-trigger units. To the trigger units, over trigger, no questions asked until they hit it. Now you get the 8 crits, 3 draws, so you could see your stuff as soon as you can, or you could run front since Bavsargra is usually the first one to attack, but I had experience of discard targets, so I decided to run draws, and I do want to see my arms card as soon as I can. But if you fear some deck out, you can run fronts. And then 4 heals, 2 of them being the counter heals. So that's it for this deck profile of the Bavsargra deck post Booster Set 7. What do you guys think of it? What other cards would you recommend, and maybe what other changes? I did have one earlier, which was Ardila, which lets you arm another card, but like I said, I haven't had the issue of arming 2 cards in the first grade 3 turn, thanks to this new grade 1 as additional support, and it kind of substitutes for that anyway. And yeah, I do get the idea that that card can literally arm you a 3rd arm in the same turn, so there is that as well. But overall, I haven't had many issues for the deck. The new cards are just like overall fine here and there. Nothing super amazing. Still waiting for a new form of Bavsargra just because I think Bavsargra deserves it, playing as one of the antagonist decks. And then there's also new support for Bavsargra in set 9 that just got revealed. One of them I am definitely playing for sure. It's going to change up the lineup again. And then there's one that is a searcher. There's going to be a lot of adjustments on the deck again. Not sure how I'm going to really play the deck, but it will be troublesome for me, especially when I like all the arms card in the same deck. I'm one of those people who wants everything in their arsenal. But in that's it for this, and see you all next time.